Happy Friday, Market Chameleons, the pre-market show with Dmitry and Will. How you doing, Dima?
Good morning, Will. How are you? Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Listen, I already had a question on YouTube chat about the fuzziness of their screen. I sent out a link to our Zoom meeting, which is handling the whole broadcast. You can come to Zoom. It's always clear there if you're having problems on YouTube. With that, Dee, do you want to start with the disclaimer?
Yep. All right, everyone, just keep in mind, Will and I and Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, then contact your registered investment advisor or call your broker, and they should be able to help you with your questions. There's the disclaimer, everybody.
Hey, Dee, before we get started, I just we did have someone in the chat, Goat Roper 911. I've seen him on before. Yep. He's having a little bit of a trouble logging into the product that just was launched yesterday, and it's been a great success. A lot of interest in stuff going into the forum. Listen, if anyone's ever having problems with Chameleon, email support. Goat, I let you know to do that. We will get to that issue. It is a well, explain what's going on, Dee. It's a
yeah. So if you do have an issue with that form, just email us at support@MarketChameleon.com. We just launched it yesterday, and any type of bugs, because we are using a third-party plugin, and we're testing it out. Some of these errors we have to report to them so they could fix it. So what we do is just give them feedback. And you know, I know I had like at least 2 issues that we sent them yesterday. One was an issue with posting an image, and then another one was with an issue with when someone was posting, including a link. So we just forward it to them and just keep, you know, and just stay on top of it that they're fixing the issues. But yeah, if you guys have an issue, please, and some images, snapshots of the issue are very helpful, because that helps the developers. They try to replicate that issue and fix it. Again, yeah, we just launched that forum yesterday. I think it had some great content there, some great interaction. You know, I was looking at the statistics yesterday, and you know, there are a couple thousand people actually going to the forum yesterday, checking it out. So for the first day, I think it's great. And a lot of people contributed great content to it. Actually, we should just put out a question, you know, if we're going to add some categories to it, what categories people would like to see, you know, maybe, you know, options related, stock related, whatever it is. It's really there to benefit you guys. You know, this, we looked forward and added it because of user feedback. We were getting a lot of feedback from a lot of different customers looking for ways to exchange ideas and ask questions. So really, I think they have, you could pose questions, answer questions, interact with people. There's actually even like a chat. You could create a chat room in there. Again, you know, this is really, hopefully people benefit from that, sharing ideas and just learning different things about trading and options.
Yeah, we definitely get a lot of questions on the morning show that we can't get to. You know, go to the forum and put that question in the forum.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have that question, most likely other people have that question. Sometimes people, you know, they're shy to put the question in, or you know, they're nervous, but most likely somebody else has that same type of question. So definitely put it in there. You know, I think that it'll be a benefit to everybody, you know, in that community. So
what are you seeing in the pre-market, buddy?
So yep, we'll start out with the pre-market report today, and then move on to, I'll take a look at that market snapshot report we did yesterday. That was the first time yesterday we looked at it. We'll look at the open interest, and maybe we'll take a look at some vertical spread screens, look for ideas there. So right now, this is the pre-market report. It's showing stocks that are trading in the pre-market hours. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. so far I don't see anything, for Friday, nothing crazy going on. I'm going to look at the higher market cap stocks. Let's filter out stocks that are market cap $20 billion or more. So here I see for stocks market cap $20 billion or more, I got 15 on the percentage gainers list, 8 on the percentage decliners list. Tesla is making is gaining 4.9%, and I think that Tesla is going to next week. They're going to have one of their annual meetings, and then afterwards they're having like a special event, battery day. So we might see some stock run up going into the event. They're going to be I think they're going to be talking about some new battery technologies. Did you hear anything about that, Will?
I haven't, but I'll tell you from the years of following Mr. Musk, they're always interesting. His presence on stage, and he can do some things that have in the past affected the movement of the stock, both positively and negatively. He's always super interesting.
He's a great innovator. He's very future thinking. I think that they also, do you remember the time they introduced like driverless cars? That was like a while ago. They still don't have them, but that was amazing. I was watching how they just demonstrated a car just drives itself around and parks itself in a, did you see those videos?
Yeah, well, you say they don't have them, but every time I pass a Tesla on the road, the driver looks like they're half asleep on the highway. That is.
Yeah. So maybe
they are literally driverless with the newest software. They can drive themselves. It's just not necessarily legal or promoted by the, it's a.
And yesterday I tried to.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's part of the interesting thing about the Tesla community. I mean, I'm starting to see people who have 2 Teslas in their driveway. It's like people who have the Tesla love the Tesla. And,
they really love those Teslas. I met it. I know a guy, he has a Tesla and a Ferrari, and he said his Tesla, he likes more than his Ferrari, and it drives faster. He said that it's actually faster than his Ferrari. So people who have those Teslas really love those Teslas. And I know we actually have a couple customers, and this is no joke. They look at, how we have the VWAP tables. They have that VWAP table that they watch the Tesla stock from their Tesla screen, from driving on their Tesla. They're watching that. So it's really, but people do love that car, and that community for sure. Anyone I know who has a Tesla loves the car. So, but we'll see. I think that's coming up. I think next we could take a look, but I think next week, September 22nd, September 23rd. So we'll see what happens there. Let me unfilter this just to see what else is going on there. And did you hear like any more news like on TikTok? I think there's some news there.
Yeah, well, for those people who are big TikTokers, those chameleons who like getting out there and doing those funny dances or whatever you do on TikTok. I know my kids are constantly placing that phone and doing stuff on it. I don't know what adults are doing on TikTok, but they're turning, the government is, and it's going to be interesting to see how this done. It's going to shut it down on Sunday. I guess. So, yeah. I guess the administration did not like the terms with Oracle, and they're going to shut TikTok down on Sunday.
That's going to be really weird because so many people use that TikTok application, and especially kids. I mean, mostly it's kids, right? They use this TikTok.
It seems like, you're under 25-year-olds, or it seem like
under 25-year-olds. And what's the concern there? They're grabbing their data, and they might be influence them or using their data.
Yes, it's a data collection issue,
right?
Which everyone has, right? Everyone has access to your data. Just because it's because it's a Chinese company is the real
right. They don't want that. They don't want that platform being used in the so that would be interesting.
Mike H, one of the chameleons out there, just shot a chat through. He says they're not shutting down. It's just no updates starting Sunday and no new downloads. So
Oh, is that what's happening?
that's
Okay.
what Mike H says.
So it'll just be um like static or whatever, or just old data.
Yeah,
Anything that's been
I guess
previously.
Freddie on the chat is actually telling me that he's my age, and people in the chat can see it. I won't say my age, but Freddie's my age, and he's saying he uses TikTok every day, and it's not just funny dances. So
Oh, really?
it shows how much I know. Thanks, Freddie.
Yeah,
So it's being
maybe
used
I'll
by a
take
lot of people, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. It's very popular. I think that at least with my kids, I know that they've been using it a lot, and um, so we'll see what happens Sunday. But obviously, that's been in the news a lot. Uh, let's take a look at in the pre-market hours. Let's take a look at what's moving here, and I'm seeing. I don't know what this. I guess let's just go to the top of the list as an example, and we'll take a look at SAVA. That's up 28.3% in the pre-market hours on 2.8 million shares trading in the pre-market hours. There's some news on here. It looks like looks like maybe some insider purchases. Let's take a look at what's going on in that stock in the pre-market hours, and then we'll move on to a different report unless people have specific questions on pre-market movers. So here we see SAVA, that's a biotech stock, closed at $7.09. Now it's trading in a pre-market hours, $8.99. That's up 26.8% from yesterday's close. This is the pre-market range, $7.86 to $9.40. VWAP price, $8.85 in the pre-market hours. It's traded 3.2 million shares compared to a float of 23.1 million. So relatively decent amount of shares trading in the pre-market hours. Hot 52-week high on that stock, $10.95. There is some news out there today. I'm not going to get into it, but you guys could come down here and read that news if you're interested, and then make a decision if that move is warranted or not. Here's what the chart looks like in the pre-market hours, and this is the longest VWAP bar I see is $8.82 to $8.93 on 722,000 shares. So what we want to do maybe is take a look at, from a historical perspective, what did the stock tend to do after a big gap move to the upside? So we're going to look up gap up history over here. And this is looking at, in the last 3 years, the 12 largest gap moves to the upside. So here we have the dates of those events, the gap moves. Here's the gap move over here. Anything in the notes, if it issued a press release, hover over here. If there's no press release, but the market was up big on that day, we made a note and tagged it over here. So let's take a look. Opening gap moves, 12 largest. The average move is 24.2%. So that's over here, up 26.8% today. So close to that average. Let's see what it tended to do after the opening of the day. So from the open price to the high of the day, the average move was 18.7%. From the open to the low of the day, the average move was 9.2%. From the open to the close of the day, looks like half the time it finished higher, half the time it finished lower, for an average gain of 4.7%. Here we see that the average move from the open to the high, that's in either direction. So you see in absolute terms is 12.1% in either direction, with a high move of 45.5%. That's right here on June 3rd, 2020. You see it open up 15.2%, then continue to rally another 45% after that to the close of the day. Then it had that, and did have a press release that day. So you could see very volatile. This is up or down 12.1% after the opening on average. So that's really quickly SAVA from historical price action analysis after opening up to the upside in the morning. If you don't have any questions on the pre-market report, Will, what I'll do is just kind of move on to cover some of the other reports.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, let's take a look at this snapshot just because we started looking at it yesterday just to get a idea what's happening in the overall market. So we see here, these are two tables. One is showing it from the perspective of where the implied volatility is. So here, this is the implied volatility of SPY, XLY, consumer discretionary. So it's SPY, and then these are all the ETFs that make up the SPY based on their sector. Down here, this is what the performance of the actual ETF was, and this is what the implied volatility did. So we could see here, implied volatility increased yesterday in everything except for the financial sector. That implied volatility was down almost 1% yesterday. Here on these charts over here, what this is doing is showing a chart in the last 52 weeks, the high implied volatility and the low, and that little circle is where it is now. So you could see that it's still, in a relatively moderate, compared to a 52-week high, relatively moderate, not very high. XLK right now, that is starting to get into more of an elevated level. Here I'm seeing SPY was down yesterday. A lot of the sectors were down. There were 3 that were up. So the 3 that finished slightly positive: energy sector, XLE, industrial sector, XLI, and the materials, XLB. Those finished a little bit higher yesterday. Let's take a look at which stocks the most active options in just the equities, not excluding ETFs. So we see Apple, Tesla, GE, Facebook, Microsoft, Vail, AMD, Amazon, American Airlines, and Boeing. Those were the most active yesterday. So here we see that a lot of them are implied volatility is starting to enter an elevated level. So we got Apple, Tesla, Facebook, Microsoft, Vail, Amazon. Those implied volatilities are now elevated. 86th percentile in Apple, 94.9 percentile in Tesla. Remember, Tesla, I think we just talked about them. They're gonna have September 22nd, I believe, some events. Facebook, that's in the implied volatility, 71.7 percentile rank in the implied volatility. Microsoft 73.6, Vail 72.8, and in Amazon 78.3 percentile rank in that implied volatility. So that's what's going on in the most active equities. And let's see, at least two of these were up yesterday. GE up 4.4%, and VALE up 2.5%. The rest look like they're down. Going was unchanged. Let's take a look at the SPY S&P 500 holdings, how they looked yesterday. 176 gainers, 2 unchanged, 327 decliners. Biggest percentage gain, let's take a look. MOS, METGE, biggest percentage gainers in the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the biggest percentage losers in the S&P 500. Whoops, overclicked here. Biggest percentage losers, ILM and healthcare stock down 7.6% yesterday. American Tower down 4.8% yesterday. And what is this American Tower? That's a REIT, but what are they? They're not like a traditional REIT, right? They're like more like information technology.
Well, actually, they're even different than that. They actually own cell towers. And I'm sure Chameleon may have dug deeper and they own other things, but that's where the tower comes from. And I had looked at this stock years ago. I mean, 15 years ago. And they started off at least owning cell towers and communication towers.
So really it's a different type of, it's like an infrastructure company. And I think that what they really benefit from is it's the internet, right? Because those cell towers, what goes through there? Is it internet? Is it like
it's everything?
It's cell phone data.
With the 5G, it's probably going to be a big deal. I mean, they're probably
So they would be on. benefit
I don't
from the
want to say for
5G.
sure or not, but I would think they would benefit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even sure how that 5G technology, that infrastructure, how it looks, but definitely this one is more like an infrastructure, not your like traditional REIT where they own like, warehouse or office buildings or rental properties. So that was down yesterday 4.8%. NTAP down 4.3%. Southwest Airlines down 4%. So these are the top percentage losers in the S&P 500 yesterday. Let's take a look at Dow Jones real quick. 13 gainers, 17 decliners. These are your top gainers: Dow Chemical, Walgreens, Caterpillar. Let's see, biggest percentage decliners here. So Goldman Sachs, Salesforce, Nike, and Apple, Disney. Let's take a look at the QQQs real quick before we move on. So these are 17 gainers, 1 unchanged, 85 decliners. So obviously those technology stocks getting hit right now the most. So biggest percentage gainers: BMRN, WBA, FISV, and Micron. Let's see, biggest losers here, percentage losers. Again, IMLN, Tesla yesterday, eBay, XL Energy, Facebook. Really, so that's really quickly kind of a snapshot where you could go in there and just figure out what's going on in the markets, and some of these major indexes, major ETF holdings, how money's kind of moving around. Let's take a look at, we haven't done open interest in a couple of days. Let's take a look at the open interest. So today I'll take a look at, unless you had any questions on that, will stop me. If not, I'm just going to move on.
Yeah, move on.
All right. So let's take a look at open interest, see if there's anything interesting in a specific option contract. So I'm going to look for option contracts where the open interest, let's use these filters, increased by at least 1,000 contracts or more. So open interest had to increase by at least 1,000 contracts from the day before. It would increase by at least 1,000 contracts. And on a relative basis, because 1,000 contracts might not be a lot for some stocks. So what we're going to do is also set on a relative basis that the open interest, whatever that increase is, had to represent at least 20% on that line of the average daily option volume. So whatever on average that in aggregate, whatever that stock trades on average, that open interest had to represent at least 20% of the average daily option volume. Let's also look for, I'm going to screen for calls. Let's look for options that are at least 25 cents or higher. I'm going to screen for the option price had to increase by at least 10 cents yesterday. Let's look at options that the implied volatility increased. I'll put like at least 20% yesterday. Again, I'm just using these filters to narrow down the amount of stocks in here. Let's look for options that are at the money or out of the money. So I'm going to look for something that's 0 to 50 delta option. So now I narrowed it down to 5. So let's take a look at, let me see if I do just 10%. All right, now I have 11. So let's just take a look at what we have here. ACM. So that stock was up 1.4% yesterday. It looks like we're looking at the October 16th expiration, 42.5 call. That option closed at $1.32 yesterday, up 42 cents. Implied volatility was up 15.9%. The volume in that option was 1,635 contracts. The open interest increased by 1,526 contracts yesterday, and that represents 112% of the average daily option volume in this stock. So that's ACM. Let me just take a look really quickly what they do. Industrials engineering. So if you're interested, you could kind of just open up this little informational sheet, and you have all these different tabs here to help you out. and you could kind of read about it here, but it looks like to me $6.4 billion market cap stock in the industrials sector. CONN, that was up 7.6% yesterday. It looks like they came for the October 16th expiration, the 12 calls. That option closed at 35 cents yesterday, up 20 cents. The implied volatility was up 10.9% in that option. It traded 3,636 contracts yesterday. The open interest increased by 1,697 contracts, and that represents 246% of the average daily option volume in that stocks. That's why we're getting a long build up here. Emmett, let's see what they do. So this is specialty retailer. Cons, do you know? It's small cap stock.
Doesn't ring a bell.
All right, MAXR, that was up 6.1% yesterday. Again, we're looking at the October 16th expiration. This is the 35 call, stock. So this is out of the money, 35 call. Option price closed yesterday at 73 cents, up 43 cents. Implied volatility was up 14.6%. Open interest increased by 1,004 contracts yesterday. That represents 36.2% of the average daily option volume in MXAR. I'm going to switch really quickly just to this trading activity. And what this will do is also show you the total notional value that's traded in this particular option. So I'm going to sort it by total notional. So we see here the WRK, that was up 3.5% yesterday. It looks like on the October 1640 call yesterday, there's a total of 1,197 separate trades yesterday for a total volume of 14,886 in volume. And in dollar terms, they traded $1.5 million worth of calls on this line. So let me just take a look at that. WRK.
They're a packaging manufacturer for consumer product packages.
Okay, so what do they? How does that work exactly?
Well, I think imagine the Amazon boxes, UPS, that appear at your door. Someone's got to make those corrugated. Wow. Yeah. So I'm not saying they work with Amazon, but that's kind of the business they're in.
Look, that's not bad. I'm just looking at this P. If it's for 10.99%, and sometimes they say it's the guys who it's not the people. How do they put it? Not the people digging for gold, but the ones that are selling the picks and shovels.
Yeah, it gets back to the blue jeans. It wasn't the people mining for gold. It was actually the people making the jeans that were making the money. The Levi's.
Yeah, exactly. People making the jeans that are making
picks and shovels. Picks and shovels. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like they could be just a benefactor of somebody else's, like Amazon or whatever success, because they're a supplier to that industry or to those types of businesses. So so possibly, but that's interesting here. We're seeing that $1.5 million worth of calls trading yesterday on the October 16th expiration, 40 call stocks, 37.64. Here's another. I see it actually popping up a couple times here at WRK. So here's another one. Looks like on October 16th they went for a higher strike call as well, 42.5 call. That let's come back to this one. I'm just going to sort by WRK over here. So let's see the 42.5 call here. It looks like that closed at 88 cents, up 63 cents. Implied volatility up 34.6%. The open interest increased there by 2,745 contracts. That represents 248% of the average daily option volume in that stock. And then it looks like they went after another call, the 45 call. So the 40, 42.5 call, 45 call on October 16th expiration. That option closed at 57 cents, up 48 cents. Implied volatility on that option up 42.2%. Open interest increased by 1,695 contracts on that line. That represents 153% of the average daily option volume in WRK. So that's really quickly just kind of going over some of the highlights in the on the open interest increases and long buildups from yesterday. If you don't have any questions, Will, I'll just move on to.
Well, someone was asking about the Tesla, where you see the events on the website.
So let me take a look at the, yep. So
and maybe
if Tesla,
if there was a trade card that looked interesting.
Right. So Tesla now it's up 5.8% already in the pre-market hours. So it already recouped everything it lost yesterday. So if you go to the options chain over here, assuming that if you're looking at option positions over here, this is the options chain, which shows you by expiration, all the calls on this side, puts on this side, and over here you could change the expiration date. So you see right now it's on September 18th, and they're just ordered by time. So here, September 25th expiration, you see this little C. That means that there's going to be events that are going to be covered before expiration. So these are events that are going to happen prior to these options expiring. So I'm hovering over there right now, and we could see here September 22nd, they're having their annual shareholder meeting, and I think right after that, September 23rd, they're going to be talking about their battery day event. So if you're just looking for that specific stock and you're trading options, you could kind of just go over here and see like these little E's with the star. We don't know exactly when their earnings are going to be yet. They didn't announce it, so this means it's an estimate. October 20th, October 23rd. So if we pick up the events, it goes into our database, and you should be able to come here and see it. And this, by the way, is also on our screeners. If you're using the screeners, and you'll see by the expiration. So always be here, like by this expiration, you'll see like a C, E. If you see a D, that stands for dividend. But hover over it, and it'll give you a little bit more information like that. So here, September 25th, you see over here, September 25th, that implied volatility 153, compared to 90. So you see the big spike in implied volatility for that month, and that's probably due to these events coming up. And they could be market moving events, right? You never know what they're going to say, and nobody knows what they might say. I mean, what were the rumors about the batteries? Did you hear what the rumors were? What is it supposed to last?
I haven't heard any rumors, but I know that is one of the technology components. It's supposedly they're so far ahead. So it'd be a life issue, right? That you'd get double the life, triple the life, that type of thing could really be
it could be exactly. It could be like an incredible thing for those Tesla cars, and maybe they could license those batteries to other,
that's the thought, and that's
the thought,
playing that way.
Yeah. So he's a really big. I mean, he actually comes up with like some amazing ideas. I don't know, like, is he building like a tunnel,
he's got a tunnel drilling company. They build tunnels. I think the biggest to date has been in Las Vegas. I think they have pitched California on building a tunnel from like San Francisco, from like Silicon Valley to LA, and then actually have another company that would have a product a lot like when you go to a bank and you are going outside to put your money in, you put it in a capsule and it fires through.
Yeah,
that type of technology on a large scale could move people and goods very rapidly, faster than anything on Earth. So
yeah,
cool stuff.
That's one of the things I was reading. I forget where I was reading, but they said like if you follow historically, anybody who's done any type of innovation in the transportation field, it revolutionizes, everything. And those people like, even the guy who created like the containers on the ships, that made just the transporting goods so much more efficient and easier, became super rich, and that just transforms the entire economy. So any kind of technology dealing in the transportation, that makes things, moving people or goods more efficiently, faster, cheaper. We're going to be feeling that throughout the economy. And historically, those have been good investments. So we'll see, you know, how
We're about to hit the opening bell. I already see comedians saying goodbye to each other, D. Awesome job today. Listen, we had a lot of great questions. Go to the forum and put them on the forum. They will get answered. Everyone, great job on the chat today. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel. D, you have a great weekend, buddy.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a great trading day and a great weekend. We'll hope to see you guys on Monday.
That's perfect.
Happy trading
day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye.